Now, there's some other news from Moderna. The company also just announced that the first children have been dosed in a phase 2/3 study of its COVID-19 vaccine. And so this is targeting pediatric use, obviously. The study will include children ages all the way down to 6 months old, so infants up to a little less than 12 years old. So, Brian, how soon do you think it might be before a COVID-19 vaccine is available for kids?
So they're already testing the vaccine in teenagers. Two of my four children are actually in that clinical trial, and they're scheduled to get their second dose, I think, in the next week or so. Before for both the child study and the teen study, the primary endpoint is safety, and then also antibody levels on day 57, which is 1 month after the second dose. And then they're also measuring COVID-19 levels. So if my kids get COVID-19, we have to report it to them, but that's a secondary endpoint. The teens are using the adult dose, but the children, they're not quite sure whether the adult dose is the proper dose. So they're doing a dose escalation part because obviously they're smaller. That makes sense, but that'll slow down the doses substantially. Ultimately, the FDA is going to want some safety data for adults. They wanted a median of 2 months data. I would imagine for children, they probably going to want a lot more than that. I don't know how much more because, once you get shot and then, basically within 2 months, you should see a majority of the symptoms because it's going to be out of your system, within a few days, I would imagine, or weeks, certainly. But I would certainly imagine that they'll probably want 2 full months on everybody, maybe, versus, especially since these clinical trials are substantially smaller than the adult trials were. So if you think of the median from the adults, that was half of the people had 2 months of data. So that was tens of thousands of people were you might expect them to require everybody to have at least 2 months in these studies, which are much smaller. So long story short, teens are definitely going to be available before younger children. The teens, could get approved as early as maybe late 2021 this year, if you assume a few more months to get everybody through the second dose and then 2 to 3 months of safety data. For the younger kids, it's definitely going to take longer because you got to do the dose escalation, and those might take a few months each, and then followed by a placebo-controlled portion. So I think for younger children, we're looking at maybe late 2022 would be my guess, maybe even into 2023, depending on how much safety data the FDA wants.
Yeah, so this is not an immediate kind of thing for anyone to look forward to, except, like you said, maybe in the teen population.